Hi guys, nice having you again once more on our channel. Today we're going to talk about Uganda, the Ugandan elections that just passed and the happenings in that country, because when you look at what's going on right now in Uganda and looking at what the opposition leader, who is Bobi Wine, is going through, you would ask so many questions like what's going on in Africa, right? Because looking at the same situation that happened in Cameroon in 2025, October, when the opposition leader also, immediately after the elections results were out, he was, of course, he was claiming the victory. And of course, in Cameroon law, according to the government, you do not have to proclaim yourself the winner. It's unofficial. And so this happened because he thought he was the winner, and he announced himself the winner. And after that, he was being wanted, like haunted, to be arrested and all of that. A lot of people were arrested because they were supporters of the opposition party. And at the end of the day, he had to relocate to the Gambia. So as we speak, the same situation is happening in Uganda, where the opposition party believe they won the elections, and the opposition leader is asking the followers, the population, to go out on the streets and fight for their right. It's the same words that Issa Chiroma of Cameroon did. He said to the followers of his party. So I'm asking questions like, elections, when elections are peaceful, right? And the government officials, like the officials and the military, the police, why is it that they now arrest people and the government is so scared instead of doing the right thing? Now, looking at what happened, the same thing in Uganda, like I said, the opposition leader, Bobi Wine, he's been nowhere to be found. He recently had an interview with Al Jazeera, coming from his hiding position. And he said he's wanted and they want to take him, they want to take his life. He does not know where his family is as we speak, or how his family is, because immediately the day of the elections, after the elections, they surrounded his house. The uniformed men surrounded his house till today that we speak. So he was lucky to have escaped from the house. And wherever he is now, of course, he's in Uganda, but he's not safe. His life is in danger, because when you look at the general, one of the military general, when you look at one of the military generals, who is the son of the President Museveni of Uganda, the son is the one issuing warnings and messages to the opposition leader, saying he should hand himself to the police within 48 hours, else he will be known as somebody who is outlawed in the country, who is against the law in the country, and who is wanted. Of course, he's wanted as we speak, but I'm just asking questions like, in Africa, where we are today, do you think these are the governments or the leadership that we really want in our continent? Because when we say we want change and we have the same people in power for over 40 years, and at the end of the day, they are still the ones fighting other people who want the change, who wants to come in power and change things and change situations. How do you feel when you look at Africa in this manner? Because for me, right, I do not think any government or any country should have a constitution that permits somebody to be in power for more than 2 terms. And most of these are leaders who are in power today for too long. They are the people who changed their constitution because, of course, they would do everything possible to win the parliament and own the parliament, where they can change constitution anyhow. And that's what's been happening. So at the end of the day, they are there and nobody is able to stand against them, of course, to win them. Winning them in terms of, what they do to stay in power is not about winning even. It's about manipulating everything, the results, the public, and everybody. And looking at what happened in Uganda, where the electoral commission that is supposed to monitor the elections and make sure everything goes well. We saw their members taking ballot papers and marking votes for the current president, the outgoing president. And that's how they counted just those ones that showed that he won. And all of these things happening, we have the youths. We have the youth that are coming up as leaders. We think they are leaders anyways. But these older leaders who have been there, they have done everything possible to make the youths of today not to have anything to do with the power or with the government or with decision making, which is very dangerous. Of course, it has made a lot of African youths to leave Africa and travel abroad. And the worst thing for me, I think, is when you look at everybody, every leader that we have in Africa, every official, they have traveled and they travel every day, seeing the difference and the development in other countries. Why is it that they cannot also replicate and do the same thing in their countries? Why is it that our own leaders cannot do well for us? Like, how on earth can a leader, a president who is above age to rule as a leader, as a president, just staying in power with the people around him? Bobi Wine in Uganda today, he may miss the chance to take the power today. To be honest, these leaders who are holding to power today and don't want anybody to come close. So when you look at how these officials, the presidents, the ministers, they groom their children, right? They groom their children in a way that they will take power from them and continue. Because as we speak, just as these elections passed in Uganda, President Museveni has appointed his daughter as the governor of the Central Bank of Uganda. His wife is the Minister of Education. His son is a general in the military. Now tell me how in this kind of situation, other African youths or other Africans, people, other children from other families in their country, how will they get to work or to do something that also they deserve? Because the positions they are giving to their children and their families, they do not deserve them. Even to their friends, because once you work so hard to make them stay in power, they're going to do everything possible to give you a position in the government. And that's why these people are doing everything possible to see that these people stay in power. They do not care about the public. They do not care about the people and what becomes of the country tomorrow. Because anybody who has the mindset of development and building a country, they know that there must be change. There must be change for people to change things, One person cannot stay in power for too long and be able to make changes that are going with the world of today. That's very deplorable, and I pray that in years to come, Africa can become better. And there are just a few of these leaders in Africa. To be honest, there are just a few leaders who are having this mindset. And the fact that AU, African Union, is sitting and watching every step, and at the end of the day, when you hear that there's a coup d'etat where a young military and the military will decide to take over the power from these long-serving presidents, that is when the AU will stand up, and that's when they will condemn even the person who wants the best. It's the same thing they did with President Traoré from Burkina Faso and Mali and Niger. They had to back out from ECOWAS, which is their own organization that, West African countries are always united with and handling their business. They had to step out because the AU and the ECOWAS, they condemned their position as taking power by force or through a coup. But now these three countries have formed their own organization. It's only for the three of them. And these three countries, they are doing so well. They are programming themselves and they are putting everything in place for their countries, for their people. I believe a lot of African countries or AU as well should really look into how to come in between, because I do not see any use for AU if they can't call any president to order. Like, you cannot allow a president to be changing constitution the way they want. And they are seeing their people suffering and wanting for change, with the hunger for change in their country. And AU is there. So please, even the United Nations, I don't know what all of these organizations are doing in order to help. We see Donald Trump today, who is, of course, he's doing with his own interest everywhere he's trying to go. That's their business. But you see Africa, I think African leaders, if they were united, if they were also looking for ways to build Africa, it should have been better. And I don't think nobody from outside will come to Africa to play with us, to make Africa or African president or countries look like trash. So guys, I don't have much to say, but today to come out with this and stand with people of Uganda and pray for you guys. I know that things are going to be well someday. Everything that stands today, it will come to an end and you're going to smile. The same with Cameroon, the same with other countries that are going through this. We see every day on internet, on social media, how people are suffering and how people are taking responsibilities in their hands and making their countries and their lives better. Let's continue to unite as Africans and stand together and see how things can go together for Africa. Thank you guys, and we see you in our next video.